There's been a lot of progress in the fight against cancer over the last quarter century. For some cancers like leukemia, the survival rate is as high as 80%. But for other types of cancer like neuroblastoma and various sarcomas, things that affect your bones, the survival rate is much lower. And in spite of the progress, cancer remains the number one cause of death by disease in children. And 1 in 5 children will lose their life. 1 in 5 children who have cancer will lose their life. And when it comes to our children, that's not acceptable. The National Cancer Institute, which is the largest funder of children's cancer research, is no longer providing funding at previous levels. There's much work to do to find a cure for children's cancer, and that's going to take a concerted effort by the federal government, industry, and then private citizens. And so when Greg Norman hosts an event like this and all of you good people come out and support children's cancer, that's the way forward. Because together, we are the means to an end for children's cancer. So now I'd like to introduce our special guest for the evening, Jack Rolle. Jack is 12 years old and a 6th grader. At 6 years old, Jack started playing golf, and his passion for the game led into a 5-hole division championship and a 9-hole Smith Cup runner-up at Congressional Country Club up in Potomac, Maryland. But it's not only the love of golf that brought the Rolle family to the Shootout this year. Jack is here to share his very personal story about how he conquered childhood cancer. So ladies and gentlemen, Jack Rolle.
Thank you, Mr. Lear. Hi, my name is Jack Rolle. I live in Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C. I am 12 years old. This is my story. I had cancer. Back in the summer when I was 10, I started to feel very thirsty all the time. I wanted to drink all the time, and of course then I had to pee a lot as well. My mom took me to the doctor, and after a rough test, I found out that I had diabetes insipidus. They suspected that something was the matter with part of my brain. I went for my first MRI. Little did I know how much time I would be spending in that tiny tube with the weird loud noises. Over the next 6 months, I had a bunch more MRIs, but in the spring, they told me things looked worse. It was time to have brain surgery. I'll never forget May 15, 2009. The day I had brain surgery. Only one parent could walk back with me to the operating room. My dad is a lawyer. He doesn't like hospitals. My mom is a nurse. My mom went with me. I hugged my dad, and my mom went to the operating room with me. The room was cold, lots of bright lights, and people with hats and masks on. I held my mom's hand and cried as they put the mask over my face to put me to sleep. I really hate being put to sleep. I really don't remember much about my stay in the hospital after my surgery, but there is one day I will never forget. A doctor I had never seen before came into the room. He had orange hair. He sat down on my bed and said, "You have cancer." I was scared. My heart was racing because I thought all people who have cancer die. I didn't want to die. After the doctor left the room, I cried with my mom and dad and told them I didn't want to die. They told me everything was going to be okay. There were medicines that could help me. My cousin was outside the room waiting to visit me. I remember just wanting to play video games with him. I just wanted it all to go away. Back home, I had even more time to think about things. Would I lose my hair? What about throwing up? I'm scared to throw up. What will my friends say? Will they treat me any differently? Will I hurt all the time? Why do I see my mom and dad cry sometimes? Will I be able to go away to my golf camp at Pine Needles? Why are people saying they are praying for me all the time? 3 weeks later, I was back in the hospital for treatment. The night before I went in, my dad and my 3 brothers all shaved their heads in our kitchen. Then my brothers, Chris, Nick, and Liam, all took turns shaving my head. Now we all look the same. It's just hair. My mom videotaped all of it, and she cried. Throughout the summer, I spent weeks at a time in the hospital getting chemo. I added it up one day, and I think I have been stuck around 543 times since this all started. Needles don't really bother me anymore. In between treatments, I spent time with my friends. I played golf when I had the energy. I tried my hardest to walk the course, but there were days I had to give in and accept a ride in the cart. I never missed any of my junior golf days at Congressional Country Club. After 16 rounds of chemo, the doctors said that I was in remission. The drugs were working, but I still needed radiation to make sure that there wasn't a single cancer cell left over. There was special proton beam radiation treatment in Boston at Mass General. I had to be accepted into the program, kind of like applying to college. In September 2009, my mom and little brother Liam and I were off to Boston for the next 2 months. My dad stayed home with my big brothers. For the most part, radiation didn't feel bad as chemo. They made me a special mask that I wore every day and bolted me to the bed so I couldn't move. I also got tattoos so they could position me right each time on the bed. The last 3 weeks, they had put me to sleep every day. This part really stunk because I hate being put to sleep. It feels really scary. My first trip home was only a few days after the start of radiation. It was for the Cure Search walk in DC. I'll never forget arriving for the walk and more than 100 people were waiting for me, all with Jack's Pack t-shirts on and orange bandanas. My family, friends, classmates, and teachers all came out to raise money for childhood cancer research, and to walk with me. It was an amazing day, and our team raised over $12,000 for Cure Search for children's cancer. That was one day during this I really felt good. Last month, I was 1 year cancer-free. Now I get an MRI every 3 months and a spinal tap every 6 months. That's okay. I take a bunch of pills every day and will for the rest of my life because my tumor destroyed my pituitary gland. That's okay. I will soon start on daily growth hormone shots to help me grow. That's okay. I keep fighting to get stronger and faster when I play sports. No biggie. I'm working hard to catch up in school. I missed most of the school year last year. That's okay too. I did make second honors this past marking period. Fighting through cancer has taught me that I can fight to get better at anything. My hair has all grown back. I don't feel sick every day. I look forward to going to school every day and being with my friends. Needle sticks are only every so often now. I'm getting harassed by my brothers and in trouble by my parents. Things are feeling back to normal. When I went back to Boston a few weeks ago, I visited Ben, a friend of mine who had radiation the same time I did. He was just finishing a year of treatment for a different type of brain tumor than I had. He was in a wheelchair and he was really skinny, and I had a hard time walking. I felt bad for him that he was still so sick a year later. I wish that he was better, just like me. I wish there was a cure for children's cancer. If they're going to find a cure, the doctors have to do research, and there needs to be money. That is why Cure Search is such a good organization, and that is why Greg Norman and all of you sitting here tonight are important in the fight for children's cancer. 10 years ago, a child with the same type of brain tumor as I had would have faced a much lower chance of survival. Today, because of Cure Search, I am standing here to share my story. Preparing for this speech was not easy for me. It was very hard to go over all the stuff that happened to me because of cancer. But I wanted to do it to show my appreciation and support for all the kids who still have cancer and the kids who will get it in the future. Thank you, Mr. Norman, for inviting my family and me to the Shootout. Thank you for helping me and all the other kids with children's cancer.